When Camsy Abadike locked his parents in the basement of their own mansion, he thought he was securing his inheritance. What he didn't know was that his father had been hiding a secret for 50 years, a secret buried behind a cracked tile, inside a rusted metal box that no one was ever supposed to find. That secret would reveal that everything Camsy built, every connection he made, every billionaire handshake and boardroom deal, was constructed on a name that didn't belong to him. And when the truth finally surfaced, it wouldn't just cost him the house. It would cost him everything: his reputation, his empire, and the respect of an entire nation. This is Elmerem Stories, where African folktales meet real-life lessons that will change how you see the world. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's begin. The evening rain fell softly over Lekki Phase 1, drumming against the tall windows of the Abadike mansion like a warning no one could hear. Inside, Mama Uche stood in the kitchen, her hands moving slowly over a pot of jollof rice. She had been cooking for 37 years in this house. She knew every corner, every crack in the wall, every sound the floorboards made when someone walked too heavily. This house was not just brick and marble. It was memory. It was sacrifice. It was the only thing Chief Okiri Abadike, her late father-in-law, had left behind when he died. But today, something felt wrong. Papa Uche sat quietly in the parlor, his fingers trembling slightly as he held a glass of water. He had not spoken much all day. Mama Uche noticed. She always noticed. After 40 years of marriage, silence between them was never just silence. It was always something deeper. Then the door opened. Camsy Abadike walked in first. Tall, sharp-suited, with the kind of confidence that came from seeing your face on magazine covers. Behind him was Elmerem, his wife, her heels clicking against the marble floor like tiny hammers. She wore a gold Chanel bag and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. They did not greet Mama Uche. They did not ask about Papa Uche's health. They simply walked past her as if she were a stranger in her own home. "Mama, Papa," Camsy said, his voice calm but cold. "We need to talk." Mama Uche wiped her hands on her wrapper and stepped into the parlor. Papa Uche looked up, his face tight with worry. He already knew. Somehow, he always knew when trouble was coming. Camsy placed a brown envelope on the glass table. The sound it made was soft, but it felt heavy. "This house," he began, "was built by my grandfather. Chief Okiri worked hard to give us this legacy. But times have changed. The property laws in Lagos are getting stricter. If we don't secure this house properly, the government could take it. Or worse, distant relatives could challenge ownership." Elmerem nodded, her arms crossed. "We're trying to protect the family, Mama. You understand, don't you?" Mama Uche said nothing. She had learned long ago that when people talked too much about protection, they were usually planning something else. Camsy opened the envelope and pulled out a document. "This is a deed of gift. It transfers full ownership of this property to me. All you need to do is sign it, and the house will be safe. Forever." Papa Uche's hands began to shake harder. He set the glass down before it could fall. "Camsy," he said quietly, "this house, your grandfather wanted it to remain in the family. For all of us. Not just for you." Camsy's jaw tightened. "I am the family, Papa. I'm the one who built Abadike Technologies. I'm the one who put our name on the map. Every investor, every partner, every deal I've closed, they all respect the Abadike name because of me. If this house falls apart, everything I've built collapses with it." Mama Uche finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the room like a blade. "And what happens to us, Camsy? Where do we go?" Elmerem laughed lightly, as if the question was absurd. "Mama, you'll still live here. Nothing changes. We just need the paperwork to be clean." But Mama Uche was not fooled. She had seen this before. In her village, in her church, in the stories her grandmother used to tell. A son who no longer saw his parents as people, only as obstacles. "I'm not signing," Mama Uche said. The room went silent. Camsy's face darkened. "Mama, don't be stubborn. This is for your own good." "No," she repeated, her voice steady. "This house belongs to your father and me. Your grandfather left it for us. Not for you." Elmerem's smile disappeared. "Mama, you're being emotional. Think about the bigger picture." But Mama Uche was done thinking. She was done being quiet. She turned and walked back toward the kitchen. That was when Camsy's voice changed. It became something else. Something she had never heard before. If you won't sign, he said slowly, then you leave me no choice. Before Mama Uche could turn around, Camsy stood and moved toward the hallway. He opened a door she had not thought about in years. The basement door. It was a small, narrow staircase that led down to a cold storage room Chief Okari had built long ago. No one went down there anymore. Camsy, what are you doing? Papa Uche asked, his voice rising in panic. Camsy did not answer. He walked over to his father, gripped his arm firmly, and pulled him toward the door. Papa Uche tried to resist, but his legs were weak. His breath came in short gasps. Camsy, stop! Mama Uche screamed, rushing toward them. But Kizaram stepped in front of her, blocking the way. Stay back, Mama. Let him handle this. Camsy dragged Papa Uche down the narrow stairs. Mama Uche shoved past Kizaram and followed, her heart pounding. The basement was dark, cold, and smelled of old cement. A single bulb flickered weakly overhead. Camsy pushed Papa Uche into the corner and turned to face his mother. You want to be stubborn? Fine. Stay down here and think about it. When you're ready to be reasonable, call me. Camsy, please, Mama Uche whispered, her voice breaking. Don't do this. But Camsy was already walking back up the stairs. Kizaram followed, her heels echoing in the silence. And then the door slammed shut. The sound of the lock clicking into place was the loudest thing Mama Uche had ever heard. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The basement was freezing. The air was thick. Mama Uche's chest felt tight, as if the walls were closing in. Then she heard it. A soft, trembling whisper from the corner. Uche, there's something I never told you. She turned and saw Papa Uche kneeling on the cold floor, his hands pressing against a cracked tile on the wall. His fingers were shaking, but his eyes were sharp, focused. What are you doing? She asked. He did not answer. Instead, he pried the tile loose. Behind it, hidden in the hollow space, was a small metal box. Rusted, old, covered in dust. Papa Uche pulled it out and held it in his lap like a child holding a forbidden treasure. Uche, he whispered again, his voice breaking. This is the secret I've been carrying for 50 years. Mama Uche knelt beside him, her breath shallow. What is it? Papa Uche opened the box slowly. Inside were papers. Old, yellowed, fragile. And on top of them, a photograph of a man she had never seen before. My name, Papa Uche said quietly, tears streaming down his face, is not Uche Abadike. Mama Uche's world tilted. My real name, he continued, is Obiajalu Arins. And the man who raised me, Chief Okari, he was not my father. The basement seemed to hold its breath. And in that cold, dark silence, the truth that would destroy a billionaire began to unfold. Mama Uche stared at the photograph in the rusted box. The man in the picture wore thick glasses and a gentle smile. He stood in front of what looked like a university building, holding a stack of books. He looked nothing like Chief Okari, nothing like the family she had known for 40 years. Who is this? She whispered. Papa Uche's voice cracked. That is Professor Adana Arins, my biological father. The words hung in the cold basement air like smoke. Mama Uche's hands trembled as she reached for the documents inside the box. The first paper was a birth certificate, old and fragile, the ink faded but still readable. It stated clearly, Obiajalu Arins, born March 12, 1954, Enugu Maximum Prison Hospital. Prison. Her husband was born in a prison. Papa, what happened? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Papa Uche wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. My father was a nuclear physicist, one of the brightest minds Nigeria ever produced. In the early 1950s, the colonial government was working on classified projects. They wanted him to participate. He refused. He said science should serve humanity, not be used as a weapon against his own people. Mama Uche listened, her heart pounding. They accused him of treason. Papa Uche continued, his voice shaking. They said he was planning an uprising. They arrested him, threw him in Enugu Maximum Prison, and erased him from every record. My mother was pregnant when they took him. She gave birth to me inside that prison hospital. 3 months later, my father died. They said it was tuberculosis. But my mother always believed they killed him. Mama Uche covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Papa Uche pulled out another document. An adoption decree. When my mother was released, she had no family, no money, no name left to protect me with. She went to Chief Okari Abadike, a distant relative who had moved to Lagos. He was a kind man. He took me in, gave me his name, and raised me as his own son. He told me to never speak of my real father. He said if anyone knew the truth, they would come after me too. Mama Uche's chest felt tight. So, Camsy, Papa Uche said bitterly, has built his entire empire on a name that isn't even ours by blood. Every investor who shook his hand, every contract he signed, every magazine that called him the heir to the Abadike legacy, it's all built on a lie. And now he wants to take the one thing Chief Okari left us. The only proof that we existed at all. Mama Uche sat back against the cold wall, her mind racing. Her son, her only son, the boy she had raised, fed, prayed for, sacrificed everything for. He had locked them in a basement like criminals. And for what? A house, a name, a legacy that wasn't even real. But then something inside her shifted. She wiped her tears and looked at Papa Uche with a calm, steady gaze. He doesn't know, does he? Papa Uche shook his head. No, I never told him. I thought if I kept the secret buried, it would protect him. I thought it would protect all of us. Mama Uche's jaw tightened. Then it's time he learned. Hours passed in that basement. Neither of them slept. Mama Uche studied every document in the box. A letter from Professor Arins to his wife, written days before he died. A newspaper clipping from 1954 about his arrest, buried deep in the archives. A faded photograph of Papa Uche's mother, holding him as a baby, her eyes hollow with grief. And then, Mama Uche heard footsteps above. The lock clicked. The door opened. Light poured down the narrow staircase. Camsy appeared at the top, his face blank. Behind him, Kizaram stood with her arms crossed, looking impatient. Have you thought about it? Camsy asked coldly. Mama Uche stood slowly, her legs stiff from the cold. She looked up at her son, and for the first time in her life, she did not see the boy she had raised. She saw a stranger. Yes, she said quietly. I've thought about it. Camsy's face softened slightly, as if he thought he had won. Good. Then let's go upstairs and... I'm not signing, Mama Uche said firmly. Camsy's expression darkened. Mama, don't be foolish. You've been down there all night. Clearly, you need more time too. I said no. Kizaram stepped forward, her voice sharp. Mama, do you want to stay in this basement forever? Is that what you want? Mama Uche climbed the stairs slowly, her eyes never leaving Camsy's face. When she reached the top, she stood inches from him, her voice low and steady. You want this house so badly? Fine. But you will not get it by locking us away like animals. Camsy's jaw clenched. Then what do you want? Mama Uche smiled faintly. I want the truth to come out. Camsy frowned. What truth? But Mama Uche did not answer. She walked past him, past Kizaram, and picked up her phone from the kitchen counter. Her hands were steady now. Her mind was clear. She dialed a number she had saved years ago, but never used. Barrister Amaka Odenigbo, a confident voice answered. Barrister, Mama Uche said calmly, I need your help. My son is trying to steal my house. And I have documents that will prove he has no right to it. Camsy's eyes widened. Mama, what are you doing? But Mama Uche was done explaining. She was done being quiet. She was done being the obedient wife, the silent mother, the woman who accepted everything without question. I'm protecting what's mine, she said simply. 3 days later, Barrister Amaka Odenigbo arrived at the mansion. She was a tall, elegant woman in her 50s, known across Lagos for dismantling fraudulent property claims with surgical precision. She carried a leather briefcase and wore a look that said she had seen every trick in the book. Mama Uche handed her the rusted metal box. Amaka opened it carefully, her sharp eyes scanning every document. She read the birth certificate, the adoption decree, the letter from Professor Arins, the newspaper clipping. When she finished, she looked up at Mama Uche with something close to awe. Do you understand what you have here? Amaka asked quietly. Mama Uche nodded. I understand. Amaka leaned forward. This isn't just about the house anymore. If this story gets out, your son's entire reputation could collapse. Every business partner, every investor, every connection he's built, it's all tied to the Abadike name. And that name, it's not even his by blood. Mama Uche's voice was calm. Then let it collapse. Amaka smiled slightly. I'll need time to investigate the deed of gift he's using. If it's forged, We can destroy him in court. If it's real, we'll need another strategy. Do what you need to do, Mama Uche said. I'm not backing down. 1 week later, Amaka called. Mama Uche, she said, her voice tight with controlled excitement. The deed of gift is a forgery. Mama Uche's breath caught. What? The notary who supposedly signed it died in 2019. 4 years ago. Whoever created this document used a dead man's signature. That's a criminal offense. Mama Uche closed her eyes, relief washing over her. So we can stop him. We can do more than stop him, Amaka said. We can expose him. That night, Mama Uche sat alone in the parlor, the rusted metal box on her lap. She thought about Papa Uche, trembling in the basement, holding a secret for 50 years. She thought about Professor Adana Arins, a brilliant man destroyed by greed and power. She thought about Chief Okari, who had taken in a child and given him a name, a home, a future. And she thought about Camsy, her son, her only son, the boy who had become a monster. But Mama Uche was no longer afraid, because she knew something Camsy didn't. The truth, once buried, always finds a way to rise. And when it did, it would destroy everything he had built. 2 weeks after discovering the forged deed, Camsy Abadike stood in his glass-walled office overlooking Victoria Island, feeling invincible. His tech company had just closed a $50 million funding round. His face was on the cover of Forbes Africa. Investors were calling him the future of African innovation. Everything he had built, everything he had fought for, was finally coming together. Then his phone rang. Mr. Abadike, his secretary said nervously. There's a lawyer here to see you. She says it's urgent. Camsy frowned. I didn't schedule any meetings. She says it's about your family property. Camsy's stomach tightened. He told his secretary to send her in. Barrister Amaka Odenigbo walked into his office like a storm wrapped in silk. She wore a navy blue suit, gold earrings, and carried a briefcase that seemed far too heavy for what it contained. She did not smile. She did not offer pleasantries. She simply sat down across from him and opened the briefcase. Mr. Abadike, she began, her voice calm and precise. I represent your mother, Mrs. Uche Abadike. I'm here to inform you that the deed of gift you've been using to claim ownership of the family property is fraudulent. Camsy's face went cold. What are you talking about? Amaka pulled out a document and slid it across the desk. The notary who supposedly signed this deed, Mr. Emeka Okonkwo, died in 2019. 4 years ago. Which means whoever created this document committed forgery, a criminal offense punishable by up to 7 years in prison. Camsy's hands trembled as he picked up the paper. His mind raced. He had paid someone to draft that deed. Someone he trusted. Someone who had assured him it was legitimate. This is a mistake, Camsy said quickly. I'll have my legal team. Your legal team already knows, Amaka interrupted. I sent them a copy this morning. They're currently advising you to settle this matter quietly before it becomes public. Camsy's jaw clenched. What do you want? Amaka leaned forward, her eyes sharp. I want you to drop your claim to the property. Immediately. And I want you to issue a formal apology to your parents for what you did to them. Camsy laughed bitterly. You think I'm going to apologize for trying to protect my family's legacy? Amaka's expression did not change. Mr. Abadike, let me be very clear. If this case goes to court, it won't just be about the house. It will be about your reputation, your business, your investors. Because once we start digging into your family history, we're going to uncover something you've been hiding your entire life. Camsy froze. What are you talking about? Amaka pulled out another document. This one was older, yellowed, fragile. A birth certificate. Your grandfather, Chief Okari Abadike, was not your father's biological father. Your father's real name is Obiajalu Arins. He was born in Enugu Maximum Prison to Professor Adana Arins, a nuclear physicist who died unjustly under colonial rule. Camsy's world tilted. Which means, Amaka continued, the Abadike name you've been using to build your empire, the name that's on every contract, every magazine cover, every investor pitch. It's not even yours by blood. It was given to your father out of kindness. And now you want to repay that kindness by stealing the one thing Chief Okari left behind. Camsy's hands were shaking. His mind was spinning. Everything he had built, everything he had fought for, it was all built on a name that didn't belong to him. If this information becomes public, Amaka said quietly, your investors will question everything. Your partners will distance themselves. Your reputation will be destroyed. Not because of the house, but because you built your entire identity on a lie. Camsy stared at the birth certificate, his throat tight. My father, he never told me. Because he was protecting you, Amaka said. The same way Chief Okari protected him. But you didn't protect them. You locked them in a basement. Camsy's voice cracked. I was trying to secure the legacy. There is no legacy, Amaka said firmly. There's only the truth. And the truth is that you betrayed the people who gave you everything. Camsy sat back in his chair, his face pale. For the first time in years, he felt small. Powerless. Exposed. What do you want me to do? He whispered. Amaka closed her briefcase. Drop the claim. Apologize to your parents. And pray that your mother has more mercy than you showed her. 3 days later, Camsy did something he never thought he would do. He called a family council. He invited his mother, his father, Barrister Amaka, and a small group of relatives and business advisors. He told Kizaram to stay home. She had protested, but for once, Camsy refused to let her speak. The meeting was held in the Abadike mansion parlor. Mama Uche sat quietly in the corner, her hands folded in her lap. Papa Uche sat beside her, his face tired but calm. Barrister Amaka stood near the door, watching everything with sharp, unblinking eyes. Camsy stood at the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. He looked around at the faces staring at him, some curious, some disappointed, some simply waiting. I called you all here, Camsy began, his voice tight, because I need to tell you the truth. The room went silent. For years, I've built my reputation on the Abadike name. I've told investors, partners, and the media that I come from a strong, respected family. That my grandfather built this legacy with his own hands. And I believed that. I truly believed it. He paused, his throat tightening. But I recently learned something that changed everything. My father's real name is not Uche Abadike. It's Obiajalu Arins. He was born in a prison to a man who was falsely accused and killed by the colonial government. Chief Okari Abadike adopted him out of kindness. He gave him a name, a home, a future. The room erupted in murmurs. Relatives exchanged shocked glances. Business advisors leaned forward, their faces tight with concern. Camsy's voice cracked. And instead of honoring that kindness, I tried to take it all away. I locked my own parents in the basement. I threatened them. I forged documents. I became the very thing my grandfather fought against: greed, betrayal, and injustice. Mama Uche's eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away. Camsy turned to face her. Mama, Papa, I don't know if you can ever forgive me, but I need you to know that I was wrong. I was so obsessed with protecting the legacy that I forgot what the legacy actually was. It wasn't the house. It wasn't the name. It was love. It was sacrifice. It was truth. He dropped to his knees in front of them, his voice breaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Papa Uche reached out slowly and placed a trembling hand on his son's head. His voice was soft, barely a whisper. Camsy, the name doesn't matter. What matters is who you choose to become. But Mama Uche did not speak. She simply stood, walked past her son, and left the room. In the weeks that followed, Camsy's world began to unravel. News of the forged deed leaked to the press. Investors started pulling out. Business partners severed ties. The Forbes Africa cover story was quietly retracted. Kizaram, realizing the empire was crumbling, filed for divorce and disappeared into the Lagos elite, never to be seen again. Camsy tried to salvage what was left, but the damage was done. The Abadike name, once a symbol of success, became a cautionary tale. A reminder that no amount of money, power, or prestige could cover the stain of betrayal. And through it all, Mama Uche remained silent. She did not gloat. She did not celebrate. She simply lived. 6 months later, Papa Uche passed away peacefully in his sleep. Mama Uche held his hand until the very end, whispering the words he had always wanted to hear. You are loved. You are free. You are enough. At the funeral, Camsy stood at the back of the church, his face hollow and broken. He tried to approach his mother, but she turned away. Not out of anger, not out of hatred, but because some wounds take more than words to heal. Mama Uche spent the next year transforming the basement, the place where she had been imprisoned, into something beautiful. She filled it with photographs, letters, and documents telling the story of Professor Adana Arins. She turned it into a memorial. A reminder that truth, no matter how long buried, always finds a way to rise. And on the day she finished, she stood alone in the mansion, looking out at the Lego skyline, and whispered the words that had carried her through the darkness. Legacy is not a name. Legacy is not a house. Legacy is truth. Legacy is memory. Legacy is courage. And even a billionaire cannot bury the truth forever. In the end, Mama Uche learned that strength is not about holding on to what you have. It's about knowing when to stand firm and when to let go. Camsy learned that a legacy built on lies will always crumble, no matter how high you climb. And Papa Uche, even in death, taught them both that the most powerful inheritance is not wealth or property. It's truth, dignity, and the courage to protect those you love. Sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. But even in that pain, there is a lesson. Forgiveness is not weakness, and justice is not revenge. It's simply the restoration of what was always right. Like, subscribe, share, and comment the lesson you learned.